Good evening, everyone. Mike Palmer from Know Your Rights Group and Success Coaching International with a huge live video update tonight. We have got a lot of information to get through. Let's get straight into it. Obviously, first and foremost, we need to discuss this weekend's upcoming election. Now, I've been contacted by more people than I can possibly count, all essentially asking me the same thing. Oh, how do I vote at the election? Now, I want to make it crystal clear. That is not what I am here for. I'm not here to tell you how to vote. What I am here to do is to share some information with you and direct you to some other information that can reveal to you what is most likely going to be the best way for you to vote, depending on what topics and policies are most important to you. Now, I've said this many times before, especially on these videos, that we are very big believers in the whole concept of, give a man a fish and you feed him for a day, teach him how to fish and you feed him for life. And I'm definitely here to do the latter, especially when it comes to the election. So let's start with a couple of obvious ones. First and foremost, who you shouldn't be voting for and why. Now, again, I'm very certain that this is very obvious to the majority of you who are watching this video, but hopefully many of you choose to share this around far and wide on other social media platforms and other groups and all the rest of it, so that people who may not be aware of this very basic info can get their head around it. Now, first and foremost, Australia voted a very clear, resounding no, to the voice referendum back in 2023. Now, putting aside all these arguments about welcome to country at Anzac Day ceremonies and all the rest of the rubbish, I want everyone to make sure that they are crystal clear about that point. It was an overwhelming, resounding, clear-cut no. Now, we've covered all of the issues with that voice referendum on many, many radio shows in the past. We explained what that referendum was ultimately really all about, and obviously people woke up to that, they saw that, and they voted no. However, what we find this week is that Senator Penny Wong has come out and told everybody flat out that Labor intends to bring the voice back. I mean, what the hell? Seriously. She actually even went as far as to say that she doubts that we'll even remember why we were arguing about it. That is how absolute little respect this woman has for our Commonwealth Constitution, for the actual referendum process, and for the voice and the will of the Australian people. So this is the article. If anybody missed it, if anybody is even considering thinking about voting Labor, please make sure you read this. So it is entitled, "The Voice is Back. Penny Wong declares the Aboriginal body will return in hugely controversial move 3 days out from election." One of Anthony Albanese's most senior ministers has declared that an Indigenous voice to Parliament is an inevitability in Australia. Some 60% of Australians voted no to Mr Albanese's proposal to enshrine an Aboriginal advisory body in the Constitution at a referendum in October 2023. All states and territories, except the ACT, rejected it in huge numbers. But Foreign Minister Penny Wong has now claimed in her first ever podcast interview that there will one day be a voice, and Australians will wonder why there was ever an argument about it. It'll become something like, it'll be like people go, did we even have an argument about that? Yes, Penny, we most assuredly did, and we, the people of this country that you claim to want to represent, voted a resounding no. That is what happens when you vote Labor, people. They just keep barreling along with their own agendas, irrespective of what the people actually want. And history has shown time and time again that we, the people, lose when Labor wins. So please keep that in mind. Now, should you need any other reason not to vote Labor, or why you should be putting Labor last, and of course any candidate that preferences Labor, which we'll get to in a moment, then check out this article. And again, this should be of concern to everybody in this country. So it says, Labor's plan to tax unrealised capital gains in superannuation accounts will destroy innovation, Jeff Wilson warns. Labor's controversial proposal to tax unrealised capital gains in super accounts will destroy innovation and could leave Australia's tech industry in ruins, a leading fund manager has warned. The Albanese government's proposed legislation would mandate Australians pay taxes for gains on assets such as farms and properties above a $3 million threshold in their super funds, even if they had not realised the return from those assets. What the? However, the move has drawn fierce backlash from Jeff Wilson, the founder of Wilson Asset Management, who sent a note to shareholders with a stern warning about what the tax could mean for small business investment in Australia. If you want to destroy innovation, if you want to destroy entrepreneurialism, what is Australia all about? It's about giving people a chance to have a go, and this is what it's destroying, he told Sky News. He recorded a discussion with an investor who expressed grave concerns about what the proposed legislation could mean for Australia's tech industry. I was talking to someone that works in a technology hub recently, and he said 50 to 60% of the money that comes into those small technology companies comes from our self-managed super funds. So even though Mr. Albanese is correct in terms of the tax only affects a small number of people in terms of paying an extra tax, it actually affects every Australian in terms of the fact that the $4.2 trillion is now going to not be going into productively, it's not going to be productively invested. I actually think it's a disaster. Undertaxing of unrealised gains, every funding round would require tax to be paid on a hypothetical value. Most startups operate with negative cash flow, and when capital is raised to fund growth, not to provide liquidity to investors. Therefore, there is no liquidity to pay tax on unrealised gain. If this tax is implemented, the Australian venture capital industry will be permanently and negatively impact. Startups will move offshore. Labor has tried to get the legislation through the Senate multiple times already, at one point trying to link in with a bill that would have scrapped debit card surcharges and reduced surcharges on credit cards. That's how sneaky they are in trying to just barrel on ahead with their own agendas, again, irrespective of what's actually best for the country. Now, this complete destruction of free enterprise should come as no surprise, okay, to anyone watching these videos, because of course we saw that that's exactly what Labor was trying to achieve during the whole COVID scenario, destroying all small businesses and making everyone as reliant on the government and big business as possible. Now, this is, of course, the worst possible scenario. So it should be clear that unless you're some supporter of communism, whoever it is that you ultimately choose to vote for, you should absolutely put Labor last. Now, on that point, again, I urge you, please be sure to look at any candidates or parties that preference Labor, okay, and that obviously means any of the Greens who, in my opinion, again, it is just my opinion, okay, are only just one step above Labor when it comes to actually completely destroying what's most important to Australians, despite all of their claims that they're protecting the environment and protecting everything else. That's the last thing they're doing. Now, Darryl obviously shared his thoughts on the Teals on Tuesday night's radio show. So if you want to find out more about that group, please do be sure to listen to that podcast, which has now been uploaded. So moving on to the remaining parties and candidates, and again, just keeping in mind what I've just shared up till now, there's really not much to say about Dutton and the Liberals. I mean, Dutton has put his foot in it more times than I can possibly count this election campaign. So who does that actually leave? Well, the trumpet of patriots have been upsetting a lot of people with all of their text messages, which to me during an election campaign is a very interesting strategy, to say the least. But then, as they say, there's no such thing as bad publicity. So they've certainly got people talking about them, and given that they are completely disconnected to those major parties, that in and of itself certainly makes them worth at least a look into. Now, the other group that I would urge people to have at least a look into is the people First Party. Now, that is headed up by Senator Gerard Rennick. They have candidates in all 5 major states, and you can find out more about them via their website, which is peoplefirstparty.au. Should be a link going up in the comments section if you're watching this on Facebook. If you're watching on YouTube, we'll try and get a link in at some point as well. Now, we obviously had Rod Cullerton on our show live on Tuesday night. He was giving us an update on what he's doing with the Great Australian Party. But, of course, they do only have candidates in WA this year, so do keep that in mind. Now, other than that, Daryl shared a very interesting resource with everybody on Tuesday night show, and that is the Vote Compass online tool. So if you just do a search for Vote Compass, or again, there should be a link going up in the comment section, it'll actually take you through to a page where you go through a short questionnaire where you get a chance to explain the specific topics and policies that are important to you, and then it will provide you with the best candidates to vote for, what order to vote them for them in your particular area that actually support your ideals. So again, if you want to check out that online tool, Vote Compass, just type that in and that'll pop up. So hopefully all of that information does make your voting choice that a little bit easier for Saturday. And as always, please do make sure that you share this information around far and wide so that those that might still be confused somewhat by the voting process do have access to all of the information that they need. Now, just one final point before moving on from voting completely, and that is that I would urge you all to be very, very, very wary of any party or candidate that focuses too heavily on renewable energy, unless, of course, you like living in the dark, which, of course, is exactly what happened in Spain this week. Now, in case you missed it, this should be a very loud and clear warning for those who tend to support this renewable energy rubbish. Europe's wake-up call. What lessons can be learned from Spain and Portugal's power outage? The International Energy Alliance, IEA, says the world must add or replace 80 million kilometres of grids by 2040 to meet climate targets and support energy security. The massive power outage across Spain, Portugal and parts of France has been described as a wake-up call for policymakers to invest more in energy grids. Investigations are underway to discover the cause of a massive energy blackout that started on Monday and brought trains and traffic to a standstill and stopped bank machines and mobile phones from working. I think it should be, in a way, a wake-up call for policymakers and regulators to remind everybody in broader society that electricity is the lifeblood of a well-functioning modern society. Christian Ruby, Secretary-General of Euroelectric, a federation representing Europe's electric industry, told Euronews Next. Portugal's grid operator on Monday night initially blamed a rare atmospheric phenomenon that caused anomalous oscillations in high-voltage power lines in Spain. Meanwhile, Spanish grid operator Red Electrica said late on Monday that there was a strong oscillation in the power flow which triggered a very significant loss of generation. We're talking about the generation of power. That's the issue here. Spain and Portugal are green energy leaders with an abundance of sun and wind power. Last year, Spain recorded that 56% of all energy used was renewable. Isn't that fantastic? Not. Okay? Here they are boasting that they're leaders in renewable energy, yet they're the only countries that I know of that have gone completely dark because of their reliance on that form of energy. I mean, as always, I'll leave it up to you guys to connect the dots, but it seems pretty obvious to me. Now, speaking of connecting the dots, there has been a lot of new COVID and COVID jab info coming out recently. And once again, it does seem to be painting a very clear picture, at least to me. So, on one hand, we've got the media ramping up their fear campaign for the resurgence of COVID this winter. Okay, this is the stuff that's doing the rounds, and this is what they're all spouting at the moment. urgent warning COVID cases will soar this winter as super contagious strain wreaks havoc across Australia. Oh, God, I love it, don't you? COVID cases are expected to skyrocket this winter with a super contagious strain of the Omicron variant to infect a large percentage of Australians. Although social distancing and face masks may feel like a distant memory as Australia passes the 5-year anniversary of COVID lockdowns, experts have warned people to remain vigilant about the virus. Keep a lookout, people. Variant LP 8.1 was identified as the main culprit of a large outbreak overseas in late 2024 and early 2025 and was responsible for 3 in 5 COVID cases in the UK in March. While the strain does not appear to cause worse symptoms than its predecessor, recent testing found it could be more contagious. Well, if it's less severe, who cares? Because we've all seen the severity of the last few strains really hasn't added up to much, has it? Professor of Epidemiology at Deakin University, Catherine Bennett, warned a combination of factors created the conditions for an explosion in the number of cases. Our immunity is waning. It's been a while since most people have had a COVID infection. Now, she wrote that there, COVID infection, not injection, COVID infection. Okay, and fewer people are getting boosters now, she told Daily Mail Australia. Well, of course they are, because it's less severe and there's less to worry about. As we go into winter, more people will be gathering indoors together, which helps the virus spread. That's why all the respiratory virus transmissions go up in winter, because people sleep outdoors in summer. I mean, no one ever sits around a dinner table in summer or autumn. No, people only gather indoors in winter. Everyone just out there, walk about in the warmer months, clearly. We might start to see case numbers go up through May to June, rather than waiting in a few months' time, so it's good to make people aware. Thanks, Catherine. Great job. The current wave of COVID vaccines do reduce the symptoms of the new strain, which doesn't seem to have any severe symptoms anyway, but it'll reduce them even further. That's good to know. So Professor Bennett said everyone should be considering a free jab, particularly those in vulnerable groups. It takes a couple of weeks to get the benefit of a vaccine, and whilst it might only protect you for a couple of months, that's as long as the wave usually lasts. So even if you get one of these jabs, it's going to take a couple of weeks to kick in, and it's only going to protect you for a few months anyway. All for something that's got less severe symptoms than the previous wave. Why are we even discussing this? Getting it in May will keep you covered. Don't wait until the cases are already rising. Give yourself a couple of weeks' notice. I mean, seriously. This is the stuff that they're printing, okay? Now, given the stories, okay, that have been coming out recently about the effects of these jabs, and I'm going to be covering some more in a moment, I am genuinely shocked and amazed that they can still actually print that kind of rubbish, and worse still, that people actually read it and buy into it. But wait, it gets even worse. Because then there's articles like the one I'm about to read out that will truly just make you shake your head in utter disbelief. Okay, here we go. Yes, I'm going to do my best to read this with a straight face. This is what 7 News is now reporting. Getting 2 COVID vaccinations in the same arm helps immune system respond to disease quicker, study finds. Can't make this stuff up, people. A landmark study has made a fundamental discovery in how the Pfizer jab can help the body fight off coronavirus. A study published on Tuesday detailed a clinical trial where most volunteers received 2 vaccination jabs in one arm and the rest switched arms between shots. Those who received their booster dose in the same arm as their first had produced neutralizing antibodies significantly faster than those who had their second shot in the opposite arm, the researchers found. Now, you ready? You're ready for the true depth and breadth of this groundbreaking study? Hold on, people. Here it is. The trial involved 30 volunteers. Firstly, 30? That's it? And you call it a study? And secondly, who the hell are the people volunteering for this insanity? I'm going to keep going. I'm going to do my best. The trial involved 30 volunteers who were injected with the Pfizer-BioNTech mRNA vaccine for COVID-19. Immune cells in the lymph node near the injection site activated after the initial shot, according to the study led by the Garvan Institute of Medical Research and the Kirby Institute at the University of New South Wales. They needed 2 institutes to study 30 people. Mind-blowing. And they get grants for this sort of rubbish too, you know. These became primed to boost the immune response after the second shot was administered in the same arm. The study's co-senior author, Try getting real, director of Garvan's precision immunology program, hoped the evidence would refine vaccination approaches. Okay, now here's the kicker. Okay, there's no sugarcoating this. Are you ready? This is a fundamental discovery in how the immune system organizes itself to respond better to external threats. Nature has come up with a brilliant system, and we're now beginning to understand it, Professor Fan told AAP. I mean, what am I missing? Did she just say nature, as in sunshine, fresh air, building up your natural immunity? Is that the kind of nature that this, professor is referring to? Is it not the very same nature that we were forbidden from accessing during all those years of lockdowns? I mean, is this professor serious? Is 7 News serious? Who on earth authorised the publishing in the mainstream media of a study conducted with just 30 people that ultimately referenced how wonderful nature was in a study about rush-to-market jabs? I'm stuck. I'm speechless here, people. I don't know what to say about this absolute insanity, especially when the mainstream media continues to report things like this. Okay? This is what's going on with these mRNA jabs. Scientists discover disturbing, unexpected side effect of new mRNA jab. Patients given experimental mRNA jabs for HIV have developed an unexpected side effect needing further investigation, experts say. About 7% of volunteers given the jabs, again, who the hell is volunteering for this? Given the jabs in the trial broke out in an itchy, bumpy rash called hives. While the rash disappeared for some sufferers, over half were still experiencing bouts a year after injection. Some were still breaking out in hives almost 3 years after receiving the jab. Experts analysing the data noticed volunteers who suffered the hive reaction were more likely to have received the Moderna mRNA COVID vaccine in the past. However, they added this finding didn't necessarily mean that the two are linked, and how and why the new jabs were provoking this reaction remained unclear. But hey, let's just keep giving them anyway. In their report, experts from the University of Pittsburgh found the jabs to be generally safe and tolerable, which means that there were clearly examples where it was not safe and it was intolerable. But yet they keep telling us how wonderfully safe mRNA jabs are. I mean, however, they noted the hive reaction in 7 participants seen across all 3 vaccine formulas was an unexpected result. Within the Annals of Internal Medicine, I've got the right word for it, they said what was causing the hives in some people was unclear. But they theorised it could be due to a combination of vaccine components, the dosage, and an unknown environmental factor. All these uncertainties, yet they just keep pushing the jabs. That scientists said while mRNA vaccine technology continued to hold great promise, further research was needed into what was causing this hive reaction. You think? I mean, come on, people. This is just, I mean, they blatantly admit they don't know what's causing the reaction, yet they still want to keep pushing or urging people to get these mRNA jabs. Now, I mean, look, let's, again, keep things in perspective. Let's be fair and reasonable. At the end of the day, hives or a rash, really isn't, the end of the world, I guess. I mean, especially if you're protecting against something, as important as HIV. Oh, but hang on. That's right. That's not what these jabs actually claim to do, because, of course, there is no actual vaccine for HIV. So here's a question to ponder. Is a hive-like rash worth getting just to save you from flu-like symptoms? Because that's really where the comparison lies now. I mean, look, it's probably really, 6 of one, half a dozen of another, but you know what isn't? These kinds of reactions. Now, anyone who's still thinking of getting an mRNA jab, anyone who knows anyone who's thinking of getting an mRNA jab, please have a look at these following articles. First one, I contracted a rare disease that's been linked to the COVID vaccine and lost my ability to speak. Vanessa Abraham had spent her entire career helping people find their voices. So she felt it was a cruel twist of fate when she contracted a rare neurological disease that took away her ability to speak and left her paralyzed. Mrs. Abraham, 45, from California, had spent over 15 years helping children overcome speech obstacles and teaching them how to talk. But in March 2019, her life came to a standstill after she began to experience a severe case of the flu. She suffered from extreme exhaustion, body aches, nausea and vomiting, and soon her voice began to wane. She was quickly taken to her local emergency room, but within 2 days had to be moved to the intensive care unit after facing respiratory failure and progressive paralysis. Okay, now the story is full on. It goes on for quite a while, detailing all of the stuff that this poor woman experienced in hospital. And then it finishes off with this. That neurologist, she got a neurologist in to try and work out what was going on. That neurologist was able to diagnose me in a few minutes based off what I was presenting with cervical, brachial and pharyngeal paralysis. She said she had seen this before in her career and was very confident I had PCB variant of GB. Mrs. Abraham was diagnosed with pharyngeal cervical brachial PCB variant, a rare form of Guillain-Barré syndrome, GPS. The cause of both GPS and its variants remain unknown, although they are believed to be triggered by an immune system response to an infection. GBS has also been linked to the COVID vaccine. Okay, now, we spoke before about whether a rash was worth, some flu-like symptoms. Maybe, maybe not. But losing your voice and becoming paralyzed, to me at least, that is most assuredly not worth those sort of risks just to save you from some flu-like symptoms. Now, that's not all though, because then there was this story. Okay, and again, I urge you, go and read these stories so you know what the risks really are. I had the Moderna vaccine and have been bedbound with mystery fatigue ever since. It's ruined my life. Determined to stay fit and healthy, Terry O'Mara was walking the length of a marathon every other day while caring for his elderly mother. The London cab driver from Sutton had overcome a horrific battle with long COVID in 2020, fighting off pneumonia and sepsis, and 1 year later considered himself back in good health. That was until 2022, when he was given the Moderna vaccine and soon found himself suffering unbearable pain and exhaustion. Now Mr. O'Mara, 60, says he remains so tired he can only wash once a week and struggles to carry out simple tasks such as lifting a shopping bag. After being diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome, the former cabbie believes the only explanation for his sudden exhaustion is the Moderna vaccine. Speaking to Mail Online about his condition, Mr. O'Mara said, It's ruined my life. CFS is a severe condition that causes extreme tiredness and can also lead to cognitive problems, brain fog, and difficulty concentrating. While COVID vaccines have unquestionably prevented millions of deaths, studies in recent years have linked them to chronic conditions affecting an undetermined number of people worldwide. Undetermined number of people. So even if millions have had their lives saved, how many other millions or multiples of millions are suffering effects from the jabs? Last month it was reported that experts at Yale University had discovered an alarming syndrome linked to the mRNA COVID vaccines. The previously unknown condition, dubbed post-vaccination syndrome, appears to cause brain fog, dizziness, tinnitus, and exercise intolerance. The findings from a well-respected institution suggested more research on post-vaccination syndrome is needed, independent experts said. The next phase of the research will be to ascertain how widespread the condition is and who is most at risk. So they don't even know, yet they're still urging people to get jabbed. I mean, this is just insane. Thousands of people have said that COVID vaccines injured them since the shots were rolled out in 2021. I dare say it's a lot more than just thousands. So I personally know a lot of people that have had flu-like symptoms, mostly healthy people with good old natural immunity, and they've all survived with nothing more than just a little discomfort. But I keep seeing these kinds of stories being reported from people who have been jabbed, and the stories of, elite athletes, collapsing suddenly on the field, and the one thing that they all have in common is that they've all had the jab. Now, it is of course entirely up to you what you choose to put in your body, but it's clear that the media are going to significantly ramp up all their COVID fear-mongering in the coming weeks. So, as always, please be sure to share this far and wide so that the people that you care about are aware of all of this relevant information before they go and do something that can't then be undone. All right, so just before I finish up tonight, a very quick reminder, the very first of our brand new webinar series is on this Sunday, the 4th of May. This webinar, of course, is all about the Constitution Commission and those Constitution Commission reports, which are the foundation of everything that we teach, because of course every law in this country must comply with that Commonwealth Constitution. And as I've said before, those Constitution Commission reports, they are the reports that were provided to the government to detail what changes needed to be made to the Constitution so that all the laws that they made since then were valid. And of course, none of those recommendations were actually implemented. So this has huge ramifications for every single law in this country. So if you want to learn the true fundamentals of the law in this country, explained in very clear, simple to understand terms, that's going to open your eyes to a whole new reality of what you're dealing with, please, at the very least, be sure to book this webinar in particular. Again, go to the seminar tab, and under that you'll see webinar, and then you'll see Constitution webinar. Otherwise, there should be a link going up as well to our webinar page in the comments. You can also make sure you check out our actual seminar page, because it's got details of all of those webinars plus our other live events for this year as well. Now, if you have already booked for this Sunday's webinar, please be aware we did send out an email earlier today that has all the information and the links on how to join Sunday's webinar, okay, and all VIP ticket holders will be getting their copy of those PowerPoint presentations and their PDF workbook shortly, hopefully, fingers crossed, tonight, so that they've got time to print those all out and get them all ready for Sunday. So do be sure to keep an eye out for those emails. All right, and finally, to finish off, as I always do, I'm going to go through the latest testimonials from some of our members, as well as going through all the latest memes to get people thinking. Now, unfortunately, with all my paperwork, I've lost the covering email that came with this, but as you can see, it's very clearly a withdrawal notice of a parking fine. It says, date of notice, date of infringement, blah, 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 blah. This infringement notice has been withdrawn, and the City of Melbourne intends to take no further action. The amount of any infringement penalty and any prescribed costs that have been paid will be refunded, unless the person has an ongoing payment plan for further inquiries, blah, blah, blah. So, again, this is a person, they just simply followed that tried, tested, and proven three-step process from the Aussie Speeding Fines book. Again, I'm sure you've all seen that a million times. There's a link going up in the comment section. There's a link in the description. Chapter 3 has that three-step process. Again, all the letters come with the book, so all you got to do, just copy and paste your details in, and then you too can get a simple withdrawal notice just like that one. Now, here's another one that was actually posted as a comment on one of our YouTube videos. It just says, my wife got one of those seatbelt scam fines because her mother, as passenger, moved her seatbelt away from her neck. Mother-in-law has Alzheimer's and dementia in large scale due to consumption of 7 scripts every day for the last 14 years. Wife got a letter from the doctor, submitted it as evidence online, fine dismissed. Okay, so you can absolutely get these, ridiculous traffic fines dismissed by just following that tried, tested, proven process, okay, in that Aussie Speeding Fines book. If you don't have a copy, please make sure you grab it. All right, so some memes. Yes, so I did mention briefly this whole uproar over the Welcome to Country at the Anzac Day service last week. But as it says there, they came to pay respect. He came just to be paid. That's all these Welcome to Country things are. They're just a good excuse to make some money. All right, so the remainder of the memes, of course, are all going to be very political in nature with the elections coming up on Saturday. So here it says, without a heartbeat, you turn white. Without air, you turn blue. Without a brain, you turn green. So we certainly don't want anyone turning green. We don't want anyone turning to the Greens. We don't want anyone voting green. We want nothing to do with green. Now, I think I've given everyone more than enough reasons to stay right away from Elbow Sleazy and his Labor Party, but there's some more there. I spent over $450 million taxpayer dollars on the Voice referendum. We've also given $1.5 billion to Ukraine and $2.5 billion to a foreign private company. So just remember that when you say electricity prices didn't go down by $250, like I promised they would. Lots and lots of broken promises and lots that just ends up costing us, we the people, more money. So, yes, this is exactly what's going on right now. So it's not very soon, it's right now. Okay? The same people who shut down your businesses, hampered your careers, are asking that you re-elect them so they can keep theirs. Never, ever forget what they did to you. Certainly not this weekend. And finally, I'm going to leave you with this one because this is the truth. Okay, I've said it before a million times. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing again and again, expecting a different result. Okay, switching out one clown for another clown, okay, doesn't change the circus. Okay, so don't go down that path, please. All right, so I'm going to leave things there for tonight. As always, I do urge you to make use of all of the various resources that are available to you to please get informed, get fired up, and get proactive, especially this weekend. These videos, of course, are all completely free to watch on the videos tab on our Facebook page. Of course, Facebook are deleting them after 30 days, so we do urge you to please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel and our BitChute channel so that you don't miss any of these videos. There's tons of completely free information on our website and the other websites that we recommend. Radio shows, again, completely free to listen to every second Tuesday night between 8 and 10 p.m. Now, on that point, we are doing back-to-back radio shows, just because there's some differences in dates with things going on, obviously with the Easter break and Anzac, and then stuff coming up in November. So we did a radio show, obviously, this week. We are doing another live radio show on Tuesday. Obviously, we're going to be going through all of the results of the election. We're going to be talking about what's happened at our Sunday's webinar. So do be sure to tune in live for Tuesday night's radio show. You'll find a link again in the description and in the comments. Just click on the big black listen live button. You can listen from anywhere in the world between 8 and 10 p.m. Now, if you've missed any of those live radio shows, you want to go back and listen to the podcast, again, you can join up as a podcast member for less than $5 a week. So it's very, very affordable for everyone. Now, of course, if you want to go above and beyond that, we do have our Know Your Rights book, the essential step-by-step manual for understanding and exercising your rights. Please be sure to grab that if you don't have it already. That Aussie Speeding Fines book that I mentioned just before, for successfully challenging all unjust and unlawful fines. And of course, we know a lot of people are very seriously, genuinely hurting financially right now. So stop throwing good money after bad at these unsecured loans, your credit cards, personal loans. Use that tried, tested and proven 4-step process for writing off or discharging any of those debts very, very easily. Again, all the letters are there. You just cut and paste your details in and send them off. So you can get these individually. There's links in the description. You can get them as part of the combo pack. Of course, you do get that tote bag included as a bonus, no extra charge. We've got our caps. Of course, it's getting a little bit cooler, so don't forget our beanies. Caps and beanies. So there's some cooler weather starting to roll in now. People see the logo, they come up, have a chat. It's a great way to meet like-minded people. Of course, our webinar this Sunday, it's not too late. You can book in. It's going to be a vitally, vitally important webinar. So if you've been umming and ahhing, please jump onto our website, jump on the seminar page, go to the webinar link and book your seat for that webinar. Don't forget, we do have our Gold Coast events coming up in July. And of course, if you can't make those live events, do be sure to grab a copy of our home study course. It's a complete recording of one of our 2.5-day live events. 17 DVDs and a CD with all the documents we use, 3 custom-made workbooks. There's places there that you can write, notes next to every single slide from every single presentation, and it is a resource that you'll come back to again and again and again over the years. So I'm going to leave things there. We look forward to speaking to many of you online on a Sunday via our webinar. Otherwise, we'll be back on Tuesday for our next live radio show, and of course on Thursday for the next live video update. Until then, take care and vote well.